The numbers again, and these are very initial reports. They will change drastically as the hours and perhaps days go on. 600 people undergoing treatment at local hospitals, many of them at St. Vincent's, where the mayor is. 150 in critical condition, another 1,500 described as walking wounded by the mayor. They are the people he was talking about who were taken to Liberty State Park in New Jersey for treatment. We should also point out the state of New Jersey also has declared a state of emergency to help in the aftermath of this attack. The mayor also saying it'll be 2 days before we get a final figure on the dead and injured. Let's recap now. We are just about at the top of the hour. It is 7 hours now since the worst attack on mainland U.S. soil in the history of this country, beginning at 8:48 this morning with a plane crashing into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. That was American Flight 11 from Boston bound for Los Angeles. That was quickly followed by United Airlines Flight 175 some 15 minutes later, also from Boston to Los Angeles. It also struck the World Trade Center, the North Tower. There are reports that the plane, at some point, there were reports the plane took off from Newark Airport. That information may have been updated at this time. Following that, 30 minutes later, when New York was still reeling from what happened here, at 9:45, an airplane crashed into the Pentagon outside Washington, D.C. Initial reports said it had crashed somewhere near the Pentagon. Further reports confirmed it hit a part of the Pentagon. One side of the building collapsed. People were inside. At 10 o'clock this morning, the first tower of the World Trade Center collapsed to the ground. At about the same time, a plane crashed in Western Pennsylvania. That was United Airlines Flight 93, about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. We now have confirmation from the FBI that that plane was bound for Camp David, Maryland, the weekend White House. That plane may have been forced down. We do know it crashed outside Pittsburgh. At the time, United would not confirm where that plane was coming from. We do know now through the FBI that crash in Somerset County was the plane apparently bound for another attack on Camp David, Maryland.
And in between all of that, the World Trade Center, both towers collapse.
About 20 minutes later, the State Department evacuated because of reports of a bomb scare. It was 10:30 when the second tower of the Trade Center collapsed. 8 minutes later, another explosion at the World Trade Center. Apparently, bombs may have been placed at the base of those buildings. The mayor only saying he did not believe those blasts after the initial impact had anything to do with a gas leak. That was an initial report from the mayor. It has been, again, just over 7 hours since this began.
Joining us now on the set is Heather McMurtry. She is a disaster volunteer for the American Red Cross. Of course, a lot of physical injuries here if people have survived this horrible, horrible attack, but also a lot of psychological issues to deal with. Talk to us about this.
Well, basically, right now, families affected, Red Cross is reaching out with mental health counselors. These are people who are professional counselors but volunteer their time during times of disaster, and they're working with the families. They're at the airports of where the flights were destined to go, as well as the originating flights, working with those people. But even here in New York, if people didn't know people who have been affected by this, it's still, you might notice signs of stress within yourself. You might notice headaches, nightmares tonight, and this is all normal reactions to this kind of disaster. But if these symptoms continue, then that's the time to go see someone about it.
And people need to know this is going to happen. I mean, at first we're stunned, we don't believe it.
Right.
We get numb, perhaps some of us get angry. It's very frightening, but there will be a post-trauma period for many, many people.
Exactly. Right now, I just came through the streets of New York, and people are in shock right now, and that's the first symptom of what happens during a disaster. And then it really starts to set in, and again, stress, and sometimes people can really internalize it. So it's a good idea to talk. And we encourage New Yorkers to please call home if you have family out of state. Let them know you're okay. That's the #1 thing.
If you're a parent, you are bound to go through this psychological nightmare yourself, but you also have a child to deal with. How do you handle that?
Well, Red Cross is setting up disaster services in schools as well, where you can take children and, again, just encourage them to talk about it. That's the best thing you can do.
Okay.
Let's talk, Heather, a little bit before we let you go about what we can do. The mayor talks so much about helping each other, which New Yorkers have done in unbelievable numbers today. People banding together to save each other from what was happening here. But the question is, in the days ahead, I'm sure that the blood supply is going to be severely strained. What can I do? What can people do to help in that regard?
Exactly. Well, today the Red Cross doesn't need blood because we're prepared prepared all year round for disasters like this, so we're okay today. But in the next few days and the few weeks, if people could call 1-800-933-BLOOD. That's 1-800-933-BLOOD to give blood in the greater New York area. And if you're outside of the greater New York area, you can call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE. And if people want to give in another way, if they can't donate blood, another thing they can do is to donate to 1-800-HELP-NOW so that the Red Cross can continue to provide disaster relief.
Right, like clothes and food, that kind of stuff?
Well, actually, what we need to do is give the victims exactly what they need, like shelters and things like that. So 1-800-HELP-NOW is for money, because people most need right now shelter and relief counseling.
Okay. Heather McMurtry, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all your advice.
Thank you, Heather. And don't forget the Red Cross, how much work they do in this type of situation. And right now, we honestly don't know what the extent of the damage, the devastation will be. We know physically the Pentagon's been hit. The World Trade Center is gone. We don't know the extent of the injuries. We only have preliminary reports. We have no idea how high the numbers of dead will go.
But what we do know is that no planes will be leaving, at least not today, maybe not through tomorrow.
The FAA has shut down all air traffic in this country until at least noon tomorrow. And stay tuned here to CBS because, frankly, there's no telling when that ban on air traffic will definitely be lifted again. The president is at a national security briefing at Offutt Air Force Base at SAC headquarters, Strategic Air Command, heavily guarded area in Nebraska, where decisions will be made regarding this. Dick Cheney is in Washington in charge from there. We want to go back to Jennifer McLogan, who is still at Kennedy Airport.
Is preparing to lock down and remove all passengers from the premises, busing them to Long Island, Queens, and Brooklyn hotels, anywhere they can find space. There are fewer than 500 here now at the American terminal behind me, and over at International Terminal 4, a decision has been made since we were last on the air with you to evacuate the airport for the remainder of the night as a security precaution, and security certainly on the minds of those stranded passengers we spoke with just a short time ago.
How could this happen? We were going to Israel and I brought the clipping from yesterday Newsday. Terror in Israel, thinking that I was afraid to fly because of what's going there. And we were on an airplane today when this happened. We saw it happening.
We're sitting in the plane trying to take off to London. And we're looking at the Twin Towers, and they were on fire.
So I could see the Twin Towers going in smoke from our plane window, and then they made us get off the plane. And you know, the chills up and down the arm at that point.
Some people play vacations, plan vacations, and you don't know if you come back home or not. It's terrible.
America allowed too many people to come in the country and to do what they want. You see, they're going to need some strict restrictions. They really do, because these people just come in here crazy, and all they want to do is to slaughter Americans.
I have a feeling somebody in national security was asleep at the switch. Got a little complacent. The Cold War was over. And guess what? It wasn't.
We haven't been told yet when we, the media, might be ordered away from Kennedy Airport. We'll be back to update you soon and hope to have some kind of initial word on when the airport's plan to reopen. For now, we're live at Kennedy International Airport. Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2.
Jennifer, thank you. We're going to head now over to Amy Nuzzo at Newark Airport. Amy, what's the update there?
Well, even here at Newark Airport, you can see there's plumes of smoke over my shoulder, and this airport, of course, shut down completely. No planes leaving here anytime before noon tomorrow. As you know, one of those ill-fated flights originated here at Newark Airport. United Flight 93, a Boeing 757 from Newark to San Diego, crashed around 10:30 this morning in a rural area about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh in western Pennsylvania. There's the video right there. Some 44 people on board, all believed dead. Witnesses reported seeing the large passenger plane take a nosedive to the ground and crash, but not before a passenger placed a frantic call from the bathroom to an emergency dispatcher saying, "We've been hijacked, we've been hijacked." That flight left Newark around 8:01 this morning. We're also told that that same plane is the plane that was attempting an attack on Camp David, Maryland, before crashing in western Pennsylvania. Let's go now to some video taken around the same time from Newark Airport as it was evacuated. Passengers and airline personnel filed out of the terminals by the thousands, many with no idea how to get home. Many were passengers stranded between cities, still stranded, wondering where to go tonight, as hotels in the area, we're told in the immediate area, are booked solid. Flight attendants appeared to be extremely shaken up as they left, knowing that any one of them could have been on board the hijacked plane.
They told us, you know, there was a national disaster and there was a bad accident at the World Trade Center and no flights were taking off. And I mean, we could see the Twin Towers, you know, up in flames, smoke. Can you imagine his families being on an airplane? I mean, can you imagine? Not knowing, can you? It's very sad, very scary.
I feel that this is all being pre-planned. So, and this is a target. That, you know, we work for a target.
And they said other hotels are full from here. So I don't know what we're doing.